Welcome to another chess game analysis video. So today I want to show you a game between Hikaru Nakamura and Ildar Abragimov. The game starts with e4, e5, we have d4, the so-called center game. Black normally accepts this pawn, e takes d4, and with c3 we reach the Danish Gambit, where white, for lead in development, sacrifices a pawn, d takes c3, and now you can capture the pawn with the knight, or you can also develop your bishop. In this game, bishop c4, the more aggressive variation, because you sacrifice another pawn. If black takes on b2, bishop takes, you get two nicely placed bishops, a nicely placed center pawn, but you are down two pawns, which is a lot. So this can happen, but in the game, black actually declines the pawn and plays knight c6, develops naturally, which is also very much playable. Knight f3 again, you don't capture this pawn, you still leave black the option of taking the pawn and getting two pawns advantage for a lead in development. So black again doesn't accept this sacrifice pawn, d6 trying to bring his bishops out into the game. We have queen b3. Now this maneuver, you know that from different openings, you attack this very weak f7 pawn with the battery, queen and bishop. So black has to deal with this threat, queen d7 defending, now we have castles, knight a5 attacking bishop and queen. So queen takes pawn, knight takes bishop, and queen takes knight. So black, after everything has been traded now, is still up a pawn, and white has still got a lead in development. Knight e7, black tries to catch up regarding development. Knight c3, knight g6, and white only has a little bit of compensation for the pawn here. The lead in development isn't really enough. So this knight also very nicely restricts an e5 push, which would lead to an open file to the black king. We have development bishop e3, c6, knight d4, bringing the knight into the center, knight e5, bringing the knight into the center, attacking the queen. Queen needs to move back, queen e2. Now black is up a pawn, which means that he would like to trade off material. Queen g4 offers a queen trade, and white tries to attack and not queen trade. f3 declines the queen trade. Queen h5 back. And now we have a maneuver that sacrifices a piece for white. Knight cb5 tries to come in here with a fork, but this sacrifices a piece because the knight can be captured. C takes b5, knight takes b5, so the other knight now tries to go in for the fork, king d8, defending against the fork, but now black can't castle anymore, but you sacrificed a piece for that, so you pay the price for black not being able to castle. We're gonna see whether or not this was actually justified. The engine in this position says minus 0.2, so black only has a very small advantage here. It's basically equal, so the piece sacrifice is objectively sound. And after rook fd1, white has got some compensation for the pawn and constantly threatens some discoveries. Maybe the knight can capture here and then discover. And the rook and the king are now on the same file, which is normally not a good thing. So bishop d7 development, a5, bishop e7 development. Now the two bishops actually guard the black king very nicely. So now the bishop takes, at least gaining back one of the pawns. Bishop takes a7, and now black decided in this position that he's up a piece so he can give back some material, so he sacrificed the rook for the bishop. Knight takes a7. The knight is a little bit misplaced there, and black has got a bishop pair for a rook and a pawn. And normally, especially in the endgame, you say that the bishop pair overpowers a rook quite easily. So this is objectively a good idea from black. We have g5, now black tries to attack on the king side where white has castled. You know that black can't castle anymore because he's already moved the king. So bishop g5, says the engine, in this position would have been a little bit stronger because you don't want the white rook to come into the c file and maybe pressure the black king. So this would have been a little bit better of a move, but g5 immediately going for the attack is also quite dangerous, especially because it induces mistakes. Normally, if you attack, you give your opponent also got You also give your opponent a very nice chance to blunder. And here h3 was played, which is inaccurate. It tries to prevent g4, but guess what? g4 anyway. So white in this position tries to close down files f4, and now the knight comes in here. Knight f3. King h1 was played. Let's quickly take a look at what happens if you take the piece. G takes f3, and we have g takes f3 attacking the queen. Queen h2, for instance, and rook g8, check. King has to go into the corner, king h1. Now we have bishop takes h3, and now the white king is very nasty placed. And the engine here says mate in 14 forced. For instance, you could try to defend the second rank with the rook. The other rook defends here, but now just bishop g2 check, king g1. Now with black you try to attack so you don't queen trade, but you shift the queen over to c5 where it gives check. Rook f2 blocking the check, and white is clearly being smothered here. There are a lot of discoveries from the bishop. The rook is pinned. You can easily, if you don't want to calculate too much, also just grab the knight here and you just up material, and this is completely winning. But you could also try to bring the rook into the attack and discover. There are multiple options of how to win this game, so this is why in this position king h1 was played instead of taking the knight. It's not much better, it's a little bit better. Black brings the rook into the attack. e5 was played. It's already pretty hard. The best defense is queen f2. After g takes h3, you can play g3, and now the queen in this variation defends the pawn on g3. After e5, what happens is that after g takes h3, g3, the queen doesn't defend the pawn and the rook can just capture it. We have e takes d6, bishop f6, queen c2, and it's very hard to actually defend this with white. The engine says mate in 11, so it's not possible to defend anymore. Rook g2. So in this position, white resigned the game. There is nothing you can try here. If you move the queen, for instance, to c4, there is a nice Arabian checkmate from the knight and the rook. So you basically would have to, for instance, sacrifice your queen, but this is not much better. It's checkmate in 4, says the engine. So this is a demonstration that you can obviously also lose with the Danish Gambit. I don't want to give the impression that this is an absolute perfect Gambit where you can only win. It is quite dangerous for black in many variations, but here Ibragimov very nicely defended and won this game. I hope you liked this game. If you want to send me games, you can do so. If you want to have opening suggestions, you can comment under the video. And I hope you check out my Twitch for live chess gameplays. Check out my Instagram and see you soon. Bye.